So when I was a kid, my dad did personality profiles, and he used to call me a chameleon, and like that was a really bad thing.
Ooh, but we're going to dive into why being a chameleon may be a beautiful way to learn that language of empathy and connect with others.
Mama says namaste. Mama says namaste.
Making a family can be easy and fun.
Oh yeah, but raising a family can be a whole different story.
From spouses to kids to the crazy daily grind, life often directs us away from connection and more into reactive chaos.
If you're tired of that cycle and are seeking something beyond the picket fence blues, this is the show for you.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Nathan.
And we're here to take you from chaos to clarity by bringing awareness and intention into your home, not waiting for one day, and highlighting how
the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us.
Take a deep breath in and let's start a brand new day. With Mama says namaste.
So this year I've been adding in book reviews. So as we have read some great books, we've wanted to share it with you. We've already shared about the Go-Giver Marriage this year, and we want to share with you about a book that we both actually just finished reading as a family. And we wanted to dig in and share some of the key insights of the book that is called The Chameleon, Life-Changing Wisdom for Anyone Who Has a Personality or Knows Someone Who Does.
It covers the bases.
Yeah. This book was written by Merrick Rosenberg, and it's based on DISC, which if you have not heard about DISC, just listen to the episode before this and you'll learn all about it. And DISC is personality assessments, and what Merrick experienced is he was super passionate about learning about personality styles.
And sharing it.
Yeah, and sharing it, much like I am. Yet he experienced that he would go and he'd spend, a full day workshop with people, and then he'd come back months later and they'd go, I was like what was a D? What'd that stand for again? I don't understand. Maybe I was an S or a C.
And most personality, like the Myers-Briggs is the same way. I don't even remember what my combination of letters. And so it's easy to forget. And it becomes impersonal when you think of it in that way.
Right. And so what he did is he decided to really personify it by making them into birds. And so the birds that he used, you can kind of get a quick image as to what the personalities might be. A D would be an eagle.
An S would be a dove.
An I would be a parrot.
And a C would be an owl.
Right. And using the these analogies of using the birds, what he did is in this book, he created 22 parables that help you to understand how personalities interact with one another.
And that's the beauty of it, because that's why you really that's why I really enjoy personality styles, is because you see kind of the way people tick, and we all want people to understand our perspective, and so we share our perspective.
Right. It helps us to kind of step into the shoes of another. And so why the chameleon? The chameleon part of it is talking about not losing yourself by being a people pleaser, but to learn how to adapt to situations in a way that brings out the best in who you're engaging with.
My dad used to tease me because he would say that, I was too much of a chameleon, that I wasn't really genuine to my personality. And, in my defense, I think in a lot of ways I was, but I would blend myself into a situation to where I could be heard, ultimately.
Right. And so one of the quotes from the book says, chameleons do not manipulate situations. We adapt to what is. We make small suggestions that can create big impacts. We gently help others see the path that is for the greatest good of everyone involved. That's the goal of the chameleon, is not to lose who you are, but to simply speak the language of the person you're talking to. I mean, I use the analogy of, just even speaking Spanish and English. I am a native English speaker. That's what I was born knowing. And when I dream, I'm going to dream in English. It's always a core of who I am. Yet if I'm going into Costa Rica, I can connect with the locals a lot more in certain areas by speaking Spanish. Does that mean I lose?
Be true to who you are.
Right. Does that
actually.
mean I lose who I am? No. It allows me to connect by speaking the different language of the person that I'm talking to. I don't lose my English skills. I simply speak the language that connects for that person. And that's the goal of a chameleon.
Yeah. I mean, the other way we talk about this in our podcast in the past with parenting is to meet them where they're at. You can demand that a child see the big picture, but if they don't see it or they're not looking through that lens, you're just talking to air. They don't understand. So you have to get down to their level and understand where they're coming from to meet them where they're at and help them see other options.
So what I did is I have started flagging out, like anytime something stands out to me in a book, I'll flag it with a little one of those little Post-it note bookmark thingies. And in doing that, my book is just completely full of them. Well, it made it super easy for me to go through and pull the meat from the book so that I could share it with you. So we've broken it down to, I've got 6 different things that we want to discuss here. I'm sorry, 7 things. 7 things we want to discuss here. And I go more in depth in this in my blog post that goes along with this. And you'll get links in there, not only just to the book, but also to an interview with Merrick Rosenberg and how to dig deeper into the concepts. The first one is, as you grow, you will change. And this is one because I get this question a lot, is just when regards to personality styles, does your personality change over time?
We've had great debates over this. And, I would argue, yeah, it does. Like, there's parts of you that get strengthened. You're able to try on a certain hat and see how it fits and add it to your repertoire, or, maybe say, oh, this is not me. I don't know how to do that.
Right. And yet I can argue that there are some elements of our core nature that probably are going to stick there. If you have always been naturally curious and you're constantly asking why, even as you maybe try on the hats of going out and socializing with others and taking leadership roles and doing all of these other things, that element of the why factor may still be an ingrained part of your core. I mean, for me, I am results driven, and that's something that's always been there, is I want the bottom line. And that's been something that has been in my nature. That being said, I didn't really focus on it that much when I was a kid and figuring out who I was. I wanted to just have a lot of friends. I wanted to meet people and hang out. And I didn't really nurture that aspect of me. And so the argument is our personality changes over time. And if we're really willing to face who we are, what happens is our personality becomes truer to who we are at our core over time. As we grow, we better understand who we are and how we can step into the greatest gift we can offer the world, and that is us being truly the good and the light and the strengths that we can add to this world that we live in.
And the more authentic you are about who you are and what you're good at and what maybe your weaknesses are, the more you can interact with this world in a positive way, because these are my limitations, these are my high points. Now, I mean, I am not a details person at all.
Nope.
And yet, I was able to underwrite loans for 6 years and be able to pull it off because I figured out, okay, if I lock the door and I don't let anybody in, then I can focus and nobody comes in to distract me. But if people come in and I start talking, it's gone.
Well, and I have to say that understanding who you are at your core, being what we would call the dove, being the peacemaker and the one that wants to make people happy, you did not turn that off. What you did is you learned, I need to set a boundary. I need to shut and lock my door so I don't struggle with trying to please others right now. Yeah. I accomplish the task that needs to be done.
Please the underwriter first.
Right. Well, that was an opportunity for you to not chameleon out of who you were, but to set a boundary so that you could do the work that needed to be done at that time.
Yeah, I call it dummy proofing, to keep yourself from doing the things that make you look like a dummy.
There you go. So the next one is, it's not wrong if it comes easy.
Now, hold on. We're supposed to just make ourselves better and do things like, what about 10,000 hours to be a expert in something?
Right.
Well, I mean, I remember in real estate, we kind of flipped this on our heads when we were talking about sales, and we would look at, well, how does sales come easy for you and how can you expand that rather than trying to do something you don't do well and spending a ridiculous amount of time trying to improve yourself on that? Is there a way that you can kind of blend your skills to meet the need?
Right. in the course that I have called Discovering You, that's helping you move from basic connection to true communication with yourself and with others. I share in there a story about the duck going to animal school, and he is trying to be the best in his class, but he's great at swimming but really bad at tree climbing. And so they push him for tree climbing. And ultimately what happens is the duck has his little webbed feet are so torn up he can't swim as well or climb a tree, and he becomes mediocre at both. I mean, sometimes we focus on who we
Yeah,
aren't, and we miss who we really are.
Yeah, I see this a lot of times in business where, you're trying to be that high dominant boss man because you think that'll get you the job that you want to the next level. But we would see this in banking all the time where somebody was, really good with people but terrible managers, but they would get promoted to management.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of promoting yourself out of your area of expertise in some ways. And you have to be aware of that as you're growing your businesses.
Right. Some of this is just recognizing and understanding what our light is and what is important for us to keep sharing. The more we show up authentically to support one another by truly using our strengths, the better we all are. And those strengths aren't intended to drain you, but to give you the fuel to keep going and sharing your gift with the world. I mean, if I were to say, because I naturally have a coach's hat, I've been a coach for my friends all my life. I've been the one that my friends and family would go to, or my friends would come to me for advice. Because I'm a coach now, should I not, just because it comes easily and I light up and I could do it for I could do it for free and I absolutely love it? No, that's the passion that really shows I'm in the zone. That's my zone of genius, if you want to use a Dan Sullivan quote. Like, that is my element of me really living in my strength and in turn being able to give the best of who I am to another person. Who you think you are creates your identity. Who you think you are not creates your limitations. Where are you focusing your mindset? All right, the next one is learning to view others from their eyes, not your own. And I thought this was really powerful. I mean, again, we read this book out loud to the girls. So they loved the stories. They really enjoyed the book. And so it's a great family book to be able to really hit some deep concepts, but do it in a way that is, a parable about birds in the forest together. Yeah. And one of the things he shares was about the golden rule. It's really separated in two ways. When it comes to your values, when it comes to the core values of, integrity, honesty, kindness, compassion, empathy, you definitely want to treat others the way you want to be treated. You don't want to treat somebody else like a jerk and expect that they're going to just come out and be super kind to you. And those are things where it is the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. But when it comes to other approaches, like, let's say, parenting or work or leading it or working in a team or anything that is collaborating with others, you're way better off to treat them how they want to be treated. And when I can speak the language of the person I'm talking to, I'm going to get a much better result. I can come in and I can bark orders to a dove, and I can and to an owl, and I can bark orders and say, this is the bottom line. And they're going to be sitting there, how
can I avoid this barking person?
How can I avoid this? I'm going to shut down. I haven't gotten enough details. I'm not going to get the best out of these two people just because I'm treating them the way I want to be treated. Very direct and bottom line to the point. You just give me the big picture. That's not the way that's going to get the best response out of them, for sure. If I treat them how they want to be treated, give a little time to let them ask questions, to get feedback, for there to be a little bit of a back and forth conversation, I'm going to have a much better interaction with them.
Yeah. If you're constantly saying to yourself, saying to your partners or people you're working with, I would want to know these facts and figures. This would be important to me to figure this out. That's a clear sign that you're operating in your wheelhouse of excellence, not theirs.
Right. On that point, it really does. What matters more to you, how you see yourself or how others see you? I kind of say, they're both important.
Yeah. I
can see myself as a great leader because I get to the point and get things done, and everybody can talk about me behind my back on how they want to, avoid the beast who is not so friendly and kind and who doesn't think about others' feelings. I don't want to give off that impression. On the flip side, though, you can have somebody who, everybody says, oh, you're a great listener. And they have built up this bottle of resentment inside of nobody pays attention to what I need. And I've taken enough from everybody else and I'm getting sick and tired of it. And so you need to be authentic to both. I mean, recognize that, as we talked about last week, your actions and your intentions are different. Actually, we're going to get into that even more here. We'll get to that in a second. The next thing is looking at, in that aspect of treating others how they want to be treated, what are you pushing for? And in the blog that goes along with this, I share about my own pushing of me as a new mama who I had a daughter, and I was just waiting for play date time. That was my big excitement. Oh, I'm going to go to all these play dates, and I'm not the babysitter or the nanny. I'm the mommy. I'm sitting here, and I can have my mommy social hour. And my daughter was miserable. And
what, she didn't want the same kind of social activity as you did?
No. And boy, this book really checked me on, thankfully I was able to learn this lesson a while back, but this is a great check reminder of, in pushing someone to act the way you are going to act, are you sending a message that they're inadequate in the way they are? As I have learned to pull back, I have seen a child develop into a teen who is so well-rounded with understanding her own boundaries. And she recognizes she has every skill set to turn on and have a meaningful conversation with people. And she can have conversations with all ages. And yet she also recognizes her recharge is in her solitude and in her art and her quiet time. And so she's created a beautiful balance that works really well for her. And that was not due to me pushing her and forcing her to be more social. That was me allowing her the space to, meeting her where she was and allowing it to be in a different way, maybe one-on-one with friends or in smaller group settings instead of throwing her to the wolves of a big party.
Well, what's funny is even last night we met some people that nobody in our family, I knew these folks, and nobody else knew them. And our two high eyes, who you would think would be sitting there chatting, were like, this is boring, we're going to go play Jenga. And our introverted daughter heard something that the adults were talking about that interests her, and man, she's out there like the most outgoing 16-year-old you've ever met.
Oh yeah, stepping up and sharing. You speak on the things that she's excited about or that you have any interest in or anything, and my goodness, you have any kind of connection to nature at all, she's there. She's ready to have conversations, and it's great to see how much she has blossomed on her own as I've allowed her to do that and stepped back a bit on what my agenda was.
And that's what we want for our children. We want our children to find their awesome, understand what their awesome is, and how it connects with the rest of the world. So it's not such a awkward, well, do I fit in? Does this match? Or no, it's a constant stew. It's always changing. And so there's lots of ways to try it out.
Right. The next one is the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us.
Oh, sorry.
I love trying to catch him each time on, can he say it at the same time I do at the end of the podcast? This one is this whole saying that opposites attract. In so many ways they do. We are drawn to those who have the qualities that we lack until we're stressed out. And then those things are the worst. Those are the things that drive you crazy. I love Nathan's laid back approach. And there are times where there's nothing more frustrating when I have no idea what the plan is. Like, what the heck is going on? I don't know. What are we going to do? Oh my gosh, it can drive me crazy. So
it's fun to watch you drive crazy.
So glad you find joy in this. So recognizing that, these strengths, let me read what Merrick Rosenberg says here. In The Chameleon, he says, we often misinterpret people's behavior because we use our own lens to understand their desires, expectations, motivators, and fears. Since we believe that we see the world as it is, unfiltered by our own interpretation, we tend to overestimate the degree to which people will be aligned with our perspectives. Therefore, we expect the people in our lives to like what we like, want what we want, and react how we react.
Wouldn't that be nice? If everybody was just carbon copies, until you get into a position where Man, we need somebody who can be in charge here.
Right.
Who's gonna? No takers.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's where, as much as we can think we want everybody to be the same, boy, I am so grateful for the other perspectives I've gotten and the lessons I've learned from those who handle things differently. Sometimes better than I do in different situations, and I can learn from them on a better approach. I didn't learn how to best communicate with an S just by forcing my agenda on somebody. I had to see how S's interact with one another, how they, doves, as Merrick would say, as doves would interact with one another. So, taking into account the way to speak to someone else and recognize that your actions can be complete polar opposite, yet you could still have the same intention.
Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing, is the communication of intention. If you're both driving down the same path, then you can really say, oh, well, okay, if you handle this, I'll take care of this part, and really handle it with ease and take off a lot of stress for each other.
Right. You don't want to just draw conclusions simply based on your own reaction. So pay attention to what their perspective is. Ask what their intention is. Sometimes their intention is way more in alignment with yours than what their actions may show. I mean, if my intention is to get to the top of the mountain and one person's plowing forward and the other person is sitting there and poring over the map to make sure we know where the heck we're going, well, our intention is the same. We both want to get to the top of the mountain. And really, both elements are going to be necessary. But the more we can work together, the more we're going to not go too far down the wrong path.
Yes. And recognizing, I mean, a lot of times those things that irritate you are the things that you need, I think.
Yeah.
When you're a little afraid, like, I need to, well, maybe it is okay.
It's that whole saying, when you point a finger at another, there are three more pointing back at you. And so often the things that tick us off about someone else oftentimes are a reflection of our own inadequacies. Mm-hmm. Even to the point of, yes, me getting frustrated with an owl because an owl asks so many questions and I just wanted the big picture. Isn't there a little element of humble pie for me that I didn't think of all the details?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So the other thing is stepping into the shoes of another. I mean, it's looking for how can you mirror one another. We respond to our reflections. So when we see people exhibiting similar behavior, that's how we tune in. We look for those who are viewing the world as we do. So in order for us to connect, our best first step is to meet them where they are versus trying to change someone to our viewpoint. Get to know what their perspective is and watch how they're acting and reacting.
Because if you're trying to change somebody's viewpoint and how they do things, I mean, they've already got it figured out for them.
But then you're talking at each other. We're arguing for each other's viewpoint and not actually having a conversation that truly connects. There's no seeking to understand. There is just simply
demanding to see the right way.
Right. I'm going to let you talk until I can tell you how you're wrong, and I'm going to convince you of why my way is the right way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We haven't had that conversation before.
Never. So a great way of doing this is to find something that puts you on a common ground. Maybe you have a mutual love for chocolate, or you have a common desire to do good for our planet. I mean, maybe you have different ways of doing that. Maybe, your desire is to do good for our planet. And while you may be frustrated with different viewpoints, that common ground can give you a point of connection to start. Anytime you can start a conversation with somebody, start an interaction with somebody from a common ground based point versus a point of frustration, you're going to go way further. When you can meet someone where they are, that opens them up to truly start hearing you versus defending themselves.
Right. And that really opens up the way you can interact with people, because then you don't see a world full of adversaries. You see a world full of people that can teach you what you need to know.
Right.
Because everyone is your teacher.
Ooh, look how you segued. That was
great.
I
read ahead.
Awesome. Yeah, we are advocates of functional education, and that whole concept is the world is our school and everyone is our teacher. There are no walls and tests and grade levels that define what learning can be. It is a lifelong process and a lifelong opportunity for you. And so those people that can rub us the wrong way are oftentimes our best teachers.
Yeah, when you feel that little irritating nag in your chest, it's like, I don't want to take this person and it's funny. Like I'll use my uncle for example. We were really opposites. He was a very calculated individual, and I was a very serendipitous child. and he and I really butted heads a lot when I was a kid. And as we've grown, and I've grown to appreciate him, and he's grown to appreciate me, we've found a really amazing common ground that I never really expected, and found a wonderful friendship in it.
Yeah. And that's a great reminder, too, of seasons. I mean, sometimes our seasons of conflict with people are simply because we're
I'll blame it on immaturity.
We're having a hard time of connecting, of seeing where the growth opportunity is. And I mean, going back to that first thing of understanding of personality changing, as we come more into who we are, sometimes we throw on a bunch of different hats that may not be a great fit.
Mm-hmm.
And during those times, we oftentimes do have more conflict with people. But the more we can be comfortable in our own skin, sitting in what our strengths are and appreciating the strengths of others, we can start to see them in a different light and create a whole new season of a relationship that can be really beautiful. I know for me, a biggie was just the 7-second rule. And I linked to a whole other podcast episode on the blog about the 7-second rule. But that's simply counting to 7 before I would move forward and giving space for people to step in into the conversation. And I found that many people, 7 seconds is when they actually speak up.
No. Fill in the space, because dead space is nothingness. It's so scary.
And then what happens is I miss the opportunity for the conversations that don't happen. I miss the opportunity for the people who can get plowed over in the process.
Yeah, those D's and I's like to keep
fast,
things moving.
Yep.
And the S's, the
eagles and
and
parrots. Yeah. And the doves and the owls.
They like to, let me think about this. How does this apply to my life? And how have I seen it? Oh, I've got a great idea to share with everyone. I wonder if it's my turn to speak. I don't want to interrupt. Okay, nobody's speaking. So, and that's usually what goes on.
Exactly. So this is our challenge for you. First off, of course, we highly recommend reading the book, The Chameleon, Life-Changing Wisdom for anyone who has a personality or knows someone who does.
And it's great to read with your kids if you've got kids, because it gives them some insights into how to interact with their own friends or their parents. That is, it's just, the little parables are great because they make you laugh because you see yourselves in these birds trying to figure things out.
It was so great hearing from the kids. I'd read something and they'd go, oh. I get it now. And it would just click. Oh my gosh, yes, I see that, and I see where I've done that. And if you want to dig deeper, I also have a link to a recent interview with Merrick by our 48 Days First Impressions director. So one of my friends, Mariah Young, and she interviewed him, and he shares about the book and also the backstory of it. And he even has a preview of a short little movie that he's doing. I have to say, I was pretty impressed with the little movie clip too, because first it was puppets, and I'm thinking, it was really well done. It's pretty cute. I'm looking forward to seeing the little movie that goes. It's going to be a little 30-minute movie that goes with it too. So check the book out. Click through the blog post to the interview, and then of course, if you are looking to improve your communication skills and really connect with others, consider taking the Namaste Personality Snapshots. That's my version of the DISC assessment. I even have discounts for family packages. So if you purchase 4 or more, you get a discount so that you can do it for your whole family. I have them for kids that are young. I have them for teens, and I have them for adults. And then also the lifelong learner one, which adds in learning styles. Are you not just kinesthetic, auditory, visual, but are you more logical or theoretical in the way that you think? So there's a lot of insight that you can get. And actually, our family is getting ready to do the personality assessments again, because every few years we do it, not to, again, make excuses for who we are, but to look at, do we feel like we're in alignment with our lives? Do we feel like what we are presenting to others is really authentically true to our core nature? And are we missing any blind spots on how we can better communicate and connect? So pay attention to how you connect and what your actions are versus your intentions, because that's going to be what people are really paying attention to. You can have great intentions, and we all know the road to hell is paved with good intentions. What are your actions? And how can you truly bridge differences to find ways to connect with each other versus divide? It's time to seek to understand. And of course, remember,
the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us. Namaste.
1, 2, 3. Up with the ride.